The knocking started before my food order even reached the door. 3 hard knocks. Not on my apartment door, on the bedroom window. I lived on the 3rd floor. I remember freezing with my phone still in my hand because for a second, I honestly thought maybe the sound came from upstairs somehow. But then it happened again. Right against the glass beside my bed. I didn't move. I just stared at the curtain. Then my delivery app notification popped up saying, "Customer already opened the door." Except I hadn't. I hadn't even left the bedroom. I checked the peephole maybe 30 seconds later, and the hallway was empty, but my order was sitting outside with the bag folded perfectly shut, like someone had placed it there carefully after opening it. And the drink was missing. That's where this whole thing started. At least, that's when I noticed it. Looking back now, there were probably smaller things before that. I just ignored them because life's busy, and your brain tries to make things normal. I was working overnight inventory at a pharmacy back then. Horrible hours. I get home around 4:30 a.m. most mornings, usually exhausted enough to forget half the drive back. The first weird thing I noticed after the apartment incident was my windshield wipers being lifted up every morning. Both of them. It happened 4 days straight. I figured maybe neighborhood kids. Except nobody else's car in the lot had it happen. Just mine. Then one morning my passenger door was cracked open, maybe an inch. Nothing stolen, nothing touched. My registration papers were still there, change cup untouched, but the seat was reclined farther back than I keep it. I know because I'm short. I sit close to the wheel. I remember standing there in the dark parking lot, feeling embarrassed for being scared of something so small. I still wouldn't talk. Around midnight, my coworker Dana asked me if my boyfriend had stopped by earlier. I told her I didn't have one. She got quiet after that. She said some guy had come in around 8 p.m. asking if I still worked there. She thought maybe he was waiting for me because he walked every aisle without buying anything. Then she said something that made my stomach turn cold. "He knew your schedule already." Apparently when she said I'd be in later, he told her, "Yeah, she usually gets here around 10:40, which was true, down to the exact time. I started changing routes home after that. I know that sounds dramatic, but little stuff kept stacking up. One night my apartment buzzer rang at 5:12 a.m. I answered half asleep and heard only breathing, not heavy breathing either, just somebody standing there quietly. Then static, like radio static. I hung up. 30 seconds later the buzzer rang again. This time I didn't answer. Whoever it was stayed there holding the button down for almost a full minute. I called building security, but by the time they checked the front entrance, nobody was there. The security guy told me something weird though. He said the lobby camera cut out for 7 minutes right around the time the buzzer started. Probably rain interference, he said. It wasn't raining. Things got stranger after I stopped reacting publicly. I think whoever it was noticed that. Like they adjusted. One afternoon I woke up around 2 p.m. because my smoke detector beeped once. Just once. I got up irritated thinking the battery was dying. But when I looked up, the detector was gone. Completely removed from the ceiling. The wires were hanging down. I genuinely thought maintenance entered while I slept, except my apartment door was still chain-locked from inside. I checked every room, closets, shower, under the bed even though I knew how stupid that was. Nothing missing, no sign anybody was there. Then I found the smoke detector sitting upright on my kitchen counter beside a note from my landlord. Only it wasn't from him. The handwriting looked shaky. It said, "Battery needed replaced. You looked tired." No punctuation. I still have a picture of it somewhere because the police took almost zero interest when I reported it. The officer kept asking if I was sure I wrote it myself while sleep deprived. I started staying with my friend Melissa after that. She lived 20 minutes away in a townhouse with 2 roommates, and honestly I thought once I left my apartment it would stop. Instead, Melissa asked me on the second night why I kept parking down the street before coming inside. I told her I didn't. She said she saw my car outside around 1 a.m. the previous night and thought I'd forgotten something, because it sat there idling for a while before driving away again. I was literally at work until 6 that morning. We checked the parking lot security camera from our neighborhood because one of her roommates worked HOA security. The footage made me feel sick. My car did drive by at 1:07 a.m. Same model, same dent near the back bumper. Same license plate, but the driver never looked at the camera, just rolled slowly past the townhouse 3 times. Police said clone plates happen sometimes. I remember asking the officer how someone got a duplicate of my exact damaged bumper too. He didn't answer that. A week later, somebody started calling the pharmacy asking for me specifically. Every night around the same time, 2:13 a.m. Exactly. If anyone else answered, the caller hung up immediately. If I answered, there'd be silence for maybe 10 seconds, then this clicking noise, like somebody pressing a pen over and over. One night I finally snapped and yelled into the phone asking what they wanted. The person whispered, "You changed houses." Not moved, houses, like they'd been watching both places. I dropped the phone hard enough the battery cover popped off. Dana heard it. She begged me to file another report, so I did. And this time an officer actually came to the pharmacy to take a statement. While I was talking to him, Dana interrupted us looking pale as hell. She pointed toward aisle 9. There was a man standing at the very end of it, partially hidden behind the shelves. Gray hoodie, baseball cap, just staring. The officer walked over immediately, but by the time he reached the aisle, the guy was gone. There was no exit nearby. No back door there, just shelves and storage. We checked cameras. There was footage of him entering the store at 1:58 a.m., but every camera after that skipped. Literally skipped. One frame he's entering, next frame, aisle empty. Timestamp jumped forward almost 11 minutes. The officer took it seriously after that. He asked if I recognized the guy. I said maybe. That was the worst part. I kept feeling like I'd seen him before somewhere. Ordinary. Gas station maybe. Grocery store. One of those faces your brain refuses to hold on to. Generic enough to disappear. I quit the pharmacy 2 days later. My manager understood immediately, which honestly scared me more, because it meant everyone there knew something was wrong. I moved back in with my dad temporarily, outside the city, different county, different routines. I deleted social media, changed my number, even sold my car. For a while, it worked. Almost 3 quiet months. Then my dad asked me one morning why there was a man taking pictures of the mailbox overnight. He said he noticed headlights sitting near the road around 3 a.m. and figured maybe somebody was drunk or lost. But when he stepped onto the porch, the car drove off fast. He described an older dark sedan, missing front hubcap. I didn't tell him this immediately, but there used to be a dark sedan parked across from my apartment at least twice a week. Same missing hubcap. I only remembered because the exposed wheel was rusted bright orange. After that, every sound in the house started feeling wrong. Pipes knocking, gravel outside. My dad bought motion lights and a camera system because he was trying to make me feel safe. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Then one morning, one of the cameras was facing backward. Just one, like somebody had rotated it carefully. My dad thought maybe wind. There was no windstorm. I checked the footage anyway. At 2:41 a.m., the feed fuzzed with static for about 4 seconds. When it came back, the camera angle had changed. No visible person. Nothing. I stopped sleeping normally after that. I'd stay awake until sunrise, watching through windows like an idiot. Around that time, I also started noticing little things missing. A hoodie, my toothbrush once, then reappearing days later somewhere obvious. The toothbrush showed up standing upright on the back porch railing after rain. My dad thought I was losing it. I could tell. Honestly, I started wondering too. Maybe stress was twisting everything. Then came the night that removed all doubt. My dad worked late shifts driving freight routes, and I was alone at the house. Around midnight, I heard somebody walking on the gravel beside the garage. Slow steps. Crunch, crunch, pause. I killed the TV volume and listened. More steps, then silence. I checked every camera feed from the monitor near the kitchen. Nothing outside except the side yard camera showing static lines rolling across the screen. Then my phone buzzed with a block number. I answered before thinking. A guy's voice said, very calm, "You should not stand near windows at night." I dropped to the floor instantly, heart pounding so hard I could hear it. I crawled into the hallway and stayed there maybe 10 minutes before calling police. While waiting, I checked one thing that still bothers me. My bedroom window reflected part of the yard because the outside light was on, and for just a second I saw movement in the reflection. Somebody standing close to the glass wearing dark clothes. Not moving, just watching where I'd been standing moments earlier. Police searched everywhere, nothing. But they found footprints near the garage leading toward the woods behind the property. One set going in, none coming out. That part sounds fake even to me. The officer said the ground got too hard near the tree line to track clearly. Still, I remember all of us standing there with flashlights pointed into those woods, listening to absolutely nothing. No bugs, no wind, just silence. My dad made me stay with relatives after that. The investigation went nowhere. No suspect, no useful footage. The calls stopped completely after we left the house, which should have made me feel relieved, but honestly it made me more nervous, like whoever it was chose to stop instead of being unable to continue. Almost a year later, I got one final thing in the mail at my new apartment. No return address. Inside was my missing pharmacy name tag from the job I quit, the one I thought I'd lost during inventory night months earlier. On the back, written in tiny, cramped handwriting, were the words, "You were easier to find when you worked late." I moved again after that. Different state this time. I don't work nights anymore. I don't keep routines. And every now and then, usually around 2 in the morning, I still wake up convinced I heard knocking on glass 3 floors up. The voice message on my phone wasn't mine, but it was recorded from inside my apartment. I heard it while stocking shelves at work around 3 in the morning. At first I thought maybe I'd butt dialed myself somehow, because all you could hear for the first few seconds was fabric moving and slow breathing. But then a floorboard creaked, the one near my kitchen entrance that always pops twice, and this guy whispered, really calmly, "He's still at work." I remember just staring at my screen while the message kept playing, 37 seconds long. No number attached, just unknown sender. Then another sound happened in the recording, my bathroom light switch clicking on. I left word immediately, didn't even clock out properly. My manager kept yelling after me in the parking lot asking if I was okay, and I just drove home with my stomach twisting the whole way. The apartment looked normal when I got there. Door locked, chain still hanging inside where I left it. Nothing broken, but my bathroom light was on. I know for a fact I'd turned it off before leaving because I'm weird about electricity bills. I checked every room holding a hammer from under my sink because I didn't own a gun or anything useful. Closet, shower curtain, under the bed, empty. Still, something felt interrupted, like someone had just left. The weirdest part was the kitchen trash can. It had been moved, maybe 2 feet sideways. Tiny thing, barely noticeable. But I live alone. You notice your own patterns after a while. I didn't sleep there that morning. I drove around until sunrise, then parked outside a diner and listened to the audio again maybe 20 times. There was another sound buried under the breathing. A television. Very faint. Specifically the Weather Channel music. And I don't leave my TV on when I'm gone. That meant whoever recorded it turned it on themselves. I should have called the police immediately. Instead, I convinced myself there had to be some normal explanation, because that's what people do when reality starts getting weird too fast. I worked overnight shipping for a medical supply warehouse back then, and everybody there was exhausted all the time. You start second-guessing yourself, forgetting little things, losing track of days. So, I bought 2 cheap security cameras online and put one facing my front door and one in the living room. For 4 nights, nothing happened. Then on the 5th night, the front door camera set me a motion alert at 2:14 a.m. I opened the app expecting maybe maintenance or a neighbor. The footage showed my hallway completely empty. No movement, just flickering fluorescent apartment lights. But the notification timer kept going, like motion was still being detected. 23 seconds, 24, 25. Then the camera suddenly tilted downwards slowly until only the carpet was visible, like someone had physically pushed it. After that, the feed cut black. I called my downstairs neighbor Luis because he had a spare key, and honestly, I was panicking too hard to think clearly. He agreed to check the apartment while staying on speakerphone with me. I could hear his footsteps climbing the stairs. Then silence. Then he whispered, "Your door's already open." I almost crashed my car pulling over after he said that. I asked him what he meant because I knew I locked it. He said the deadbolt wasn't latched all the way, like somebody closed it gently without locking it. He kept talking while walking inside. I heard him say hello twice. Then he stopped mid-sentence, just stopped. I remember yelling his name into the phone over and over while hearing faint static. Finally, he came back breathing hard and said, "Your bedroom closet door moved." That was enough for me. I called police. They searched the place. Nobody there. Nothing stolen. But one officer noticed something I hadn't. My bedroom window was unlocked. I never opened that window because the screen was bent outward slightly, like somebody had pushed against it from outside before. Police wrote everything down, but you could tell they didn't think it was serious yet. One of them even suggested maybe Luis accidentally opened the door himself and got nervous. The next few days felt normal again, almost embarrassingly normal, and that somehow made it worse because I kept waiting for something else to happen. Then my routine started getting neared back at me. I'd stop for coffee before work, same gas station most nights, and one evening the cashier looked confused when I handed him my card. He said, "Didn't you already come through here earlier?" I told him no. He described a guy wearing my exact gray work hoodie, same warehouse logo and everything. Said he bought black coffee and cigarettes around 11 p.m., asking if the cameras outside worked. I don't smoke. I checked my closet after work that morning, one hoodie missing. I tore apart the apartment looking for it. Gone. Around then, I started noticing a dark SUV parked near my building late at night. Different spots every time. Never close enough to seem obvious. Sometimes across the street. Sometimes behind the laundromat next door. Older model. One headlight dimmer than the other. The thing that bothered me most was I never actually saw the driver. Not once. I tried taking pictures of it one night from my balcony, but the vehicle pulled away almost immediately after my camera flash reflected off the window. A few days later, I got another voice message. This one was only 8 seconds. A man humming. That's it. But I recognized the song because my mother used to hum it while cleaning when I was a kid. I hadn't heard it in years. Nobody around me should have known it. I actually called my mom crying after that, because suddenly, this whole thing felt personal in a way it hadn't before. She tried calming me down, asking if maybe an ex was messing with me, but I'd been single almost 2 years. And honestly, this didn't feel like somebody trying to scare me for fun anymore. It felt organized, like I was being studied. The warehouse installed new ID scanners around that time because theft had been happening during night shifts. Everybody got temporary badges with printed photos. Mine disappeared from my locker on the second day. Security checked footage. The camera outside the locker room skipped from 1:11 a.m. to 1:19 a.m. with no explanation. 8 missing minutes. During those missing minutes, somebody accessed my locker. Security told me they'd investigate, but they also hinted maybe I misplaced the badge somewhere, because technically there was no footage of another person entering. I stopped arguing after that. You get tired eventually, tired of sounding crazy. Then came the package, no shipping label, just a plain brown box sitting outside my apartment door after work one morning. Inside was a disposable camera and nothing else. I almost threw it away immediately, but there was already film loaded inside. I took it to one of those pharmacy photosers because curiosity got me. Worst decision I made the entire year. There were 24 pictures. Every single one was me, walking into work, pumping gas, carrying groceries, sleeping on my couch through my apartment window. That picture messed me up the most because I lived on the second floor. Whoever took it had to be standing on the fire escape, right outside my living room. But the final photo was worse. It showed me sitting at the diner where I'd listened to the first voice message weeks earlier. Except the angle was impossible. The picture had been taken from inside the diner kitchen. I asked the waitress there later if any employee matched the man I described from the audio messages. She got uncomfortable immediately and told me there used to be a night cook who got fired for bothering female customers and taking photos of people without permission. He quit months before I started coming there. She showed me an old staff photo from their social media page. I felt this weird drop in my chest because I recognized him instantly. Not from the diner, from my apartment complex. He was the guy I kept holding the front door open for late at night because he always acted like his hands were full. Same baseball cap, same tired eyes. I didn't even know he lived there. Police finally took things seriously after the photo package. They interviewed him. Turns out he'd moved out of my building 3 months earlier. They searched his new place, but apparently couldn't find enough evidence to charge him with anything major. He admitted to checking on me a few times because he thought we were becoming friends. That phrase still makes my skin crawl. Police told him to stay away from me and suggested I get a restraining order. For about 2 weeks, everything stopped. No SUV, no messages, no weird missing items. I actually started sleeping again. Then one night at work, a shipment arrived with the wrong destination labels attached. It happens sometimes, except one of the boxes had my full name handwritten across the top in marker. Not the shipping label, handwritten. My supervisor thought it was a prank until we opened it. Empty box. Completely empty, except for a motel keycard taped inside. Room 214. I remember feeling this cold pressure behind my eyes because my first camera alert happened at 2:14. Same number. Same exact number. Police traced the motel card to a highway motel about 40 minutes outside town. Officers went there while I stayed at the warehouse with security nearby. The room was empty when they arrived, but somebody had clearly been staying there recently. Fast food wrappers, energy drinks. A police scanner radio still turned on low near the bed, and taped beside the television was a printed screenshot from my apartment camera feed. The officer handling my case stopped giving me details after that because it became an active investigation, but he quietly told me to stay somewhere else immediately. So I did. I stayed with my older sister and her husband for almost a month. During that time, I changed jobs, changed my number, everything. One afternoon, my sister mentioned the man had knocked earlier asking if I still lived at my old address because he found my wallet. She said something about the interaction bothered her because the guy never blinked much, just stared past her shoulder into the house while talking. She asked what color my car was, even though he never mentioned a car. He answered correctly anyway. We called police again. Nothing came of it. After that, I stopped posting online completely. I stopped checking into places. I stopped talking to strangers more than necessary. It changes you. You start treating every repeated face like a threat. Every unfamiliar vehicle becomes important. About 6 months later, I moved to another state for work. Different apartment, different life. Things stayed quiet long enough that I started believing maybe it was finally over. Then my new coworker asked why someone kept calling the office landline asking if the night shift guy with the scar on his wrist still worked there. I never told anyone there about the scar. Not even casually. I got it as a kid falling through a glass table. Small white line under my watch band. You wouldn't notice it unless you were very close to me. That same night when I got home, my apartment smelled faintly like cigarette smoke. I stood inside the doorway for probably a full minute, staring at nothing. Because I don't smoke, nobody around me smokes, and somehow I already knew before checking that my bathroom light was on again.